The newcomer to Portadown tested Shamrock Park turf this afternoon, and they don't come with a better soccer CV than this. With both a Scottish Cup and FA Cup medal, the former Aberdeen star and Manchester United captain for 7 years is back in business, this time in the Irish League. But don't panic, Ards, Martin Buchan will not be playing tomorrow. The 44-year-old Scot, fit and trim as he is, was simply here to show off his wares, in the literal sense. The soccer promotion manager for Puma here to sign a lucrative 3-year clothing deal with Portadown. Johnny, it looks like you could have a guest player at some stage in the season.
Well, certainly, by looking at the condition that Martin Buchan's in today, he could certainly play for us on Saturday. The sponsors for boots just last 4 or 5 years, and we're delighted that they went ahead and sponsored us with the full playing and training gear.
Martin, who formerly played under Tommy Dock in his days at United, now turns out for a celebrity side managed by Coronation Street's Jack Duckworth. But as with any old Red Devil, his heart is still at Old Trafford and his eyes on the season ahead.
I think the pressure's on them to do well in Europe. For 26 years they've been chasing this title again, and I think the next step is to try and win the European Cup. And over the last few years the league winners have failed to retain the title the following year, so it'll be an interesting season.
Castlereagh Park, 3 second-half Portadown goals destroyed Ards. Alfie Stewart split the square defence, and Stevie Cowan's replacement, Trevor Smith, did what Cowan did so well. A quick free kick and an Ards defence that appeared to be on Valium let Robert Casey in, 2-0. And the Ards back four still looked drugged when Portadown made it 3-0 through Sandy Fraser. Comfortable for Portadown.
Portadown took the field in front of the biggest crowd of the season to the strain of what sounded like a Scottish fling. And after about 10 minutes, a strain on the pitch nearly had Glentoran reeling. Martin Russell's accurate cross was met with a firm header by Portadown captain Brian Strain, which narrowly rocketed over the bar. Strain was again involved minutes later. He flicked on Joe McLeod's cross to an unmarked Peter Murray, whose wicked-dipping shot was again inches from being perfect. However, Portadown's opening goal after 33 minutes was absolutely flawless. Trevor Smith was involved at the start, and after 2 precise, beautifully controlled touches by Murray and Casey, which baffled the Glentoran defence, Smith was on hand to rattle in his 5th goal in 4 games. Undoubtedly the pass from that midfield tactician Murray had engineered the move, and Robert Casey's flick back inside was as neat as his new haircut. But it was the Scottish signing's superb finish right into the bottom corner which impressed me. Glentoran, still missing a few important regulars, really only had one clear-cut chance to score in the first half, Barney Bowers heading over. And ironically, it was the Glens captain who was allegedly at fault for the Port's 2nd goal. Referee Alan Snoddy awarding a penalty after a judging that Bowers handled. The behind-the-goal replay illustrates clearly, though, that any illegal contact was accidental and the decision was harsh. But Russell showed no mercy as he sent Alan Patterson the wrong way. Portadown's thoroughly comprehensive performance continued in the second half. McLeod in the 67th minute, though, perhaps could have done better. Glentoran were, as manager Robert Strain would admit, outclassed, although Neil Candlish did offer a glimmer of hope here. A typically deceptive run by the Scot, his shot well stopped by Mickey Keenan. The Ports made safe their semi-final slot in the dying minutes. Russell played a delightful 1-2 with Smith and squeezed the ball past Patterson. The Ports' 16th goal so far this season with none conceded. And Trevor Smith, signed from Hamilton Academicals, now heralded by the fans as the new Stevie Cowan, hopes that tag will soon be forgotten.
I just like to think I'm here to do my own job rather than to play somebody else. Team's played well and everybody's relatively happy, so fingers crossed it continues.
5 goals in 4 games must be particularly pleasing for you.
Just 42 to go now. the magic number of 47, you know, everybody keeps Stevie got 47, Stevie got 47, so I've got a few more to go yet.
Well, Trevor Smith's a good player. He's got a good first touch, he's very quick and sharp, he can score goals. We haven't seen the best of Trevor Smith because, as I said, he missed basically the pre-season with a groin injury. At present, he's got a touch of fluid in the knee. And as I said, it'll be another 2-3 weeks before we see the best of him.
Portadown faithful only had to wait 8 minutes last night for the opening goal when the pinball wizard, alias Philip Major, scored. But 14 minutes into the second half, they saw something they hadn't seen all season, a goal against. Tom McCourt poked the ball under Mickey Keenan. The Ports were soon back in front, though, dreadful defending by Larne, and Robert Casey capitalised, his 6th goal of the season. And 18 minutes from time, the 3-1 win was complete. Brian Strain found a unique way of beating the offside trap, and the Ports captain rarely missed games.
The game started in blistering fashion. Candlish with a great run, Hillis with the effort, but it went wide. 70 minutes into the game came this, a real shamozzle with several players involved. A lot of boots flying, and then Tony Gorman got involved. He seemed to push out with his hand, and when it all settled down, he was the player sent off. And I thought he was a little unfortunate. Glentoran's Jim McCluskey deserved at least a booking. On 35 minutes, 10-man Portadown opened the scoring. A great run by skipper Strain, the ball pushed through, and the impressive Trevor Smith with the finish. 5 minutes later they were level. Neil Candlish, who else with the cross? Mickey Keenan collided with Greg Davison. The ball eventually came back, and Johnny Jameson made no mistake. Into the second half, and Glentoran certainly had their chances. A great ball this from McCluskey. Hillis nodded on, and McCartney shot, well saved by Keenan. Minutes later, Glentoran almost got a second. Confusion in the defence, and Gary Smith with this cross-come shot off the post. Lucky Portadown. In the end, it was poor defence by the Glens which allowed Portadown in. Greg Davison through the middle. The shot wasn't well hit, and keeper John Grace seemed to follow it all the way to the net. 2-1 on the end. Good result, Portadown.
Not as if Portadown need any help in putting away goals, but Ballymena assisted them on Saturday. Mark Carlisle's own goal giving them the lead after 5 minutes. Despite that, the visitors did manage to equalise in the 21st minute. A miscalculated clearance from Strain, and Davy McCabe on hand to power home a low drive. Some delightful midfield play, particularly this fine ball from Peter Murray, restored Portadown's lead. Trevor Smith notching up his 7th goal in 7 appearances, a natural successor to the prolific Stevie Cowan. The game was effectively put beyond Ballymena's reach in the second half. Ironically, another miserable own goal, Stephen Young's header looping over Grant. But a timely substitution added another 2 to Portadown's tally in the closing minutes. Substitute Joey McLeod will be on the proverbial cloud 9 after this goal, displaying some lovely skills and exemplary finishing under pressure. And the stocky Scot was on target just 1 minute later. Trevor Smith spearheading the build-up and unselfishly laying off for McLeod to score. 5-1 to Portadown.
Felt we were the best footballing side last year, but probably could have been a bit more competitive. And I feel that the players that we brought in this year will give us that competitive edge. Plus we've got a lot more pace and mobility up front.
And if you're wondering where...
Well, my crystal ball has already told me
At
that...
Park, we had the distressing sight of Winky going wonky. Winky Armstrong, using his boot like a machete, took a few lumps out of Joey Cunningham. The Portadown players were none too amused, neither was the ref, and Winky walked. Well, there was only 1 goal, and it was spectacular enough to brighten a dull game. Sub Tony Gorman picking the ball up here and unleashing a great shot. An early candidate for goal of the season, don't you think? And a win for Portadown. That's 8 matches in a row now.
Our next.
Sid Burrows, who's a great crosser of the ball. That wasn't one of his better ones. And Stewart for Collins, who stays on side. And Burrows calls for it. And an early chance for Hunter. Greg Davidson. Casey in the penalty area. But Davidson might go on his own here. And it's Gorman. Well, Major, the inevitable Brian Strain, is in the penalty area. He goes in towards Strain, but it's now Fraser. Portadown have had most of the chances in this first half, and it's not hard to predict what's going to happen here. Oh, great save by McKeown. And that is the second super save from a long-range effort by Tony Gorman. The Hunters decided to hold it up, and the cross comes in to Collins. And so close for Crusaders. This is now Martin Murray. And it could drop for Hunter. Stewart keeps it in, but gives it away to Livingston. And Keenan drops it. And Hunter gets the goal.
More, and Crusaders went through. Well, Belfast.
5 minutes into the second half, John Quigg fouls Joey Cunningham from the back. He'd already been booked, and I suppose the referee had little option. Oma down to 10 men. After that, it was all Portadown. A good cross this eventually, and Brian Strain with the all-important header. Portadown got their second after sustained pressure, a mix-up in the defence, and when things go your way, efforts like this finish in the net. 2-1. Portadown skipper Brian Strain showed how it's done against Bangor. A good header that by the defender. Greg Davis's cross coming in the 15th minute, and Strain's effort giving Dalton no chance. Just before the break, Portadown sealed it. Joe McLeod capitalising on the defensive mistake. They were queuing up in the box, and it was Big Tony who shepherded the ball to the net.
Then, in a sensational last 6 minutes, David McCallum hit a hat-trick for Bangor, the first after 84 minutes, capitalising on a defensive mix-up. And 2 minutes later, it was 3-0. Michael Crowe, this time the provider, and McCallum with a cool finish. He hit his hat-trick from the penalty spot on the final whistle. At Castlereagh Park, 3 delightful touches led to the opening goal. Greg Davison's cross, Trevor Smith's flick, and a crisp volley by Joey Cunningham. One of 3 goals in the first half, which would determine the result. Ard's equaliser also involved 3 players and was equally as classy. Ken Demonge with a pièce de résistance from the edge of the box. 1 minute later, Portadown popped back in front. Joey Cunningham, with head buried, instinctively lobbed the Ards defence. Well, so he claimed anyway. The result not in doubt though, 2-1 to Portadown.
The first goal at Ballymena, Portadown want. It's merely on loan, they say, at Shamrock Park. And on Saturday they hammered fellow candidates Crusaders 3-0. Peter Murray's opener, fit indeed for a clash of championship pretenders. Well, then came a controversial sending off. Video evidence will show that Michael Cash should not have gone, said Roy Walker in the Sunday Life. Well, judge for yourself. The foot was high, Cash was never getting the ball, and the studs were up. But was it the flying 2-footed contact Cash was accused of on the day? Well, the manager clearly showed his sympathy for the player, but the Ports showed none for Crusaders and scored twice more. The second brought great personal relief to Scottish striker Trevor Smith, his first goal in 9 games. The good vision from Joey Cunningham led to Portadown's 3rd goal. A precise ball, and Robert Casey, who has followed the slim-fast plan of late, it seems, comfortably beat McKeown to keep Portadown in the race.
But Portadown responded in sparkling fashion. Greg Davison in the clear, and this shot just flashing over Eaches's bar. But the game turned nasty after 22 minutes. Boots flying in. Bangor's John O'Connor and Philip Major. Referee Snoddy had no option. Both men sent off. Bangor continued to press. A neat build-up this, and the effort from Glendenning. Well saved. Any chance Portadown had disappeared in the 70th minute when the influential Philip Smith was sent to the line for arguing with an official. 3 minutes later, Bangor almost made it 2. Fullback Reggie Dornan with a great build-up, and this a real cracking shot, but pushed away for the corner. After 81 minutes, Portadown almost grabbed an equaliser, the header from Alfie Stewart, but Mark Glendenning was there to clear it off the line. But that just about summed up Portadown's night. Bangor, they immediately counter-attacked, and the ball moved inside to striker Johnny McGee. He kept his head, the ball came down, it finished into the net, and Bangor were through 2-0 on the night.
Carrick are currently the worst defensive side in the league, and Portadown proved exactly why on Saturday as they hit them for 6 for the 3rd time in a row at Taylor's Avenue. Robert Casey scored the first. But Carrick, with manager Kenny Shields in their side, equalised 12 minutes later. Ian Coulter unmarked at the back post. Portadown were back in front though before half-time with another acute angle goal. Joe McLeod's shot helped in thanks to a mistake by Miskelly. Sandy Fraser returned to the Ports starting lineup in place of the suspended Trevor Smith, and he scored the Ports' 3rd. McLeod's cross confused the Carrick defence. Casey knocked the ball back and Fraser finished. Carrick defender Cal McDermott is renowned for his Bruce Forsyth impressions, but in this instance it was a case of nice to trip you nice. Penalty awarded, and McLeod, well, didn't he do well? as did Martin Russell with this free kick to put the Ports 5-1 up. Portadown's last goal typified their footballing prowess on the day and illustrated Carrick's dreadful defending. Fraser, surrounded, still managed to touch inside, and Cunningham had room and time to pick his spot to send the Ports top of the league.
All one, the Port still clear on goal difference, with Glenavon in second place. It already looks like a four-horse race.
Maintain their top of the table status with a solitary goal win over the Glens. Nice work from Joey Cunningham and Trevor Smith delivering from the edge of the box. A great goal and the Port's unbeaten run continues.
Portadown, where the leaders improved their goal difference with a strong performance against Coleraine. And that leads me neatly into our Monday action pack.
Manager Ronnie McFall says he has seen Joey Cunningham play even better than he did on Saturday. Frankly, Ronnie, we don't believe you. Joey was simply outstanding, here setting up Trevor Smith for the opening goal after 29 minutes. Joey jigged around the Coleraine defence all afternoon, at times with far too much space. Here he was given a brace of crossing opportunities, relatively unchallenged. But it was when he was challenged that Joey really illustrated his quite magnificent array of skills. Watch how he tortures the left side of Colerane's defence and delivers a pinpoint cross for Smith. Joey, who made his return from a career-threatening knee injury last season, has obviously fully recovered, and striker Smith will score incessantly from this type of service. Cunningham also demonstrated his finishing potential. The cross from Joe McLeod, watch the control on the chest. And wasn't that a cool execution? And it was Cunningham's corner that set up Portadown's last goal. Peter Murray with the glancing header to round off a comfortable 4-0 win.
Clare, champions Linfield were held by Distillery in an exciting...
Portadown travelled to Dixon Park, a visit they rarely cherish, and Saturday was no different as they lost 2-0. Jamesy Kirk scored Ballyclare's first. And a couple of minutes later, when Brian Strain blatantly fouled Frankie Wilson in the box, Colin Crawford knocked in Ballyclare's second. The 2-0 defeat a dent in Portadown's title aspirations.
At Shamrock Park, mid-Ulster rivals, Portadown recovered form and style. Joey Cunningham curling in the second in 23 minutes. And 20 minutes later, Robert Casey showed great style in turning and firing home. The Ports made it 4 just on the interval when Smith grabbed a second after Peter Murray and Casey created the chance. The second period was something of an anticlimax, brightened only by a goal from the impressive Martin Russell, who bewildered a stunned Ballymoney defence before finishing neatly.
Comfortably won the clash of Mid-Ulster's big two with a goal in each half. Glenn Ferguson set up Peter Kennedy for the first. And the Lurgan Blues, who should have Jeff Ferris back in the side for Saturday's game against Cliftonville, ensured that they'll have the psychological advantage when they meet the Ports in the league on the 27th of December, with Stevie McBride scored his 17th goal of the season.
Controversy surrounded all 4 goals at Windsor. Portadown went in front when Brian Strain powered in for a free header. Linfield immediately complained to the referee Alan Snoddy, and as Portadown celebrated, Jeff Spears was booked. The Blues felt that goalkeeper Wes Lamont was hampered by Trevor Smith. Snoddy was well positioned, but I think Linfield had a good case. Well, this incident led to Portadown's second goal. A Linfield player clearly heads the ball out. The linesman gave the throw to the Blues. The referee correctly overruled, and the Ports subsequently won a corner. Russell took it, and Robert Casey finished with class. But Linfield fought back in typical style, and 4 minutes after Casey's goal they won a penalty. Snoddy, again superbly positioned, a judge that Alfie Stewart handled. The replay shows that he did handle, but the ball was driven at him with considerable force. Portadown unfortunate, but Haylock took full advantage. And with 14 minutes left, Haylock equalised with a tremendous strike. Again, there were claims from Portadown that the goal shouldn't have been allowed. Haylock handled while turning, they said. Well, I don't think so, lads. And a superb point-salvaging goal it was. Lot 2 in the Smirnoff Irish League met at Shamrock. Glenavon took the field as leaders, but knowing that defeat would allow arch-rivals Portadown to climb above them into pole position. The importance of the match was reflected in the crowd. An estimated 10,000 were squeezed into the ground. The kick-off had to be delayed by 15 minutes to accommodate them all, and certainly there was plenty to excite. It's worked out well for Cunningham. Peter Murray sprinting away to the right-hand side, and here's a ball through for McBride, and McBride has a chance here. Again, Glenavon, just the one player forward is offside. It was Ferris. Cleance is the referee, playing advantage. Gorman in for Smith, and that's a good ball for Cunningham. A wee bit of space at last for Joey Cunningham, a skillful player, and almost creating a wonderful goal. Stewart, good ball for Russell. Again, a wee bit of room on that left-hand side for Martin Russell. Now Smith turns it into Gorman, might let one crack here. And Robbie Beck just got a touch. Tony Gorman has scored spectacular goals in the past, and it was well worth the try. Stewart with the free kick. Strain and Casey on the far edge of the penalty area, and Trevor Smith on the edge of the 6-yard box. And it's drifted in towards Strain, who wins it now. Trevor Smith! And that is, without doubt, the closest that Portadown have come to scoring in this first half. So it's Mickey Keenan to take this free kick. No doubt it'll be thumped towards the edge of that Glenavon penalty area and towards Trevor Smith, and it's all the way through to Sandy Fraser, and Fraser still, and the cross for Smith. Trevor Smith scores his 16th goal of the season, while Joey Cunningham was the man who had to go off with a shoulder injury. It was Sandy Fraser, a great favourite here at Shamrock Park, who came on, and he made an immediate impact, setting up the simplest of finishes for Trevor Smith. Byrne knocks it to Russell, and Fraser's in a wee bit of room left side. Far side of the box is Trevor Smith again. Lovely cross from Fraser, and there wasn't an offender within 3 yards of Trevor Smith there, and a personal double for him. Rojo wide to Raymond McCoy, and what sort of impact can he make? Glenavon substitute, and the cross is problematic for the goalkeeper, and Ferguson makes it 2-1, and Glenavon back in the match. Oh, and here's a good header for Sandy Fraser to make it 3-1, and he scores the clincher. He set up 2, and he scored the goal. That takes 3 points from this match for Portadown. Been a few cries from Portadown supporters. Why is Fraser not on from the start every week? I mean, what's the reason behind that?
Well, the reason behind it, Mark, is I don't feel that he's fit enough to play 90 minutes. If he was fit enough to play 90 minutes, then he'd be on the side from the start. I don't think he's fit enough to do that. I said, no question his ability. I've never questioned his ability. As I said, I don't feel that his fitness is what it should be. And the only person can put that right, Sandy Fraser.
You're not too keen on him talking to the media. Is that all part of the process to try and knock him out of shape?
I think it's been too much speculation about Sandy Fraser or whatever, Mark. We have 11, 12, 13, 14 guys here who do it for us week in, week out, and no disrespect to Sandy Fraser, but I think that they deserve a lot of credit for the position we're sitting in at the present time.
Portadown opened the scoring with Peter Murray providing us with a great angled left foot shot. Sandy Fraser made it 2. The build-up, well, it was scrappy, but the finish, it was neat. Near the break, Distillery got back into the game. It was terrible defence from Portadown, and Stephen Baxter, well, he eats up those sort of chances. Portadown increased their lead in the second half. A deep cross, and Barry Meehan with the header. No marks to the keeper. The Ports made it 4-1. Martin Russell sets it up, and Tony Gorman with a thundering finish. Number 5 came from Trevor Smith. A long clearance Fraser's shot was saved, but the number 10 with the follow-up. And then it was 6 of the best, silky skills from Fraser, and what a cracker again from Tony Gorman.
Yesterday, Portadown scored 5 against Omagh to move further ahead of the pack. Trevor Smith scored the first. And after 30 minutes, Tony Gorman rounded Omagh keeper Declan Devine to make it 2. Trevor Smith whipped in the cross, which set up number 3, and Barry Meehan superbly headed in the finish. 2 more goals in the second half sealed the victory. Smith scored his 20th of the season, and Fraser tapped in this effort. 10 points from a possible 12 for the Ports over Christmas. Portadown's display on Saturday was one of their most disappointing this season, but that was mainly due to a committed performance by Bangor, who could have taken the lead here through David McCallan. It was Portadown, though, who scored first. Barry Meehan found himself in the clear. Tim Dalton stopped his effort, but Trevor Smith was on hand like every good striker should be, and he celebrated his 21st strike of the season in the 26th minute. Portadown manager Ronnie McFall described Bangor's equaliser as diabolical, but truthfully it was down to superb vision by Tony Canning, who spotted Mickey Keenan off his line, and the alertness of that workhorse David McCallan, who instinctively followed up. Both sides had chances to seal a win. Sandy Fraser denied here by a diving Tim Dalton, and the Ports denied all 3 points.
The game turned ugly for a time after that, culminating in the sending off in the 75th minute of Cliftonville's Jim McFadden. With time running out, Portadown grabbed their equaliser in the 87th minute. A defensive mistake allowed Trevor Smith in, and he finished with authority. A battling point for the Ports.
Portadown were expected to secure 3 points quite easily against Ards, and they had enough chances in the first half to do just that, but Key's goal remained locked. Ards were reduced to 10 men in the second half after this little tussle between Andy Beattie and Donald Gray. Gray was booked for lying on the ball, though it could have been for ankle biting. Beattie's reaction, which resulted in a tete-a-tete, earned him the red card. Still, Portadown were unable to capitalise. Martin Russell's corner came close here. But in the dying minutes, that sneaky Scot, Sandy Fraser, struck the winner. Ards kissed the point goodbye, and Fraser's curler saved the Ports and kept them top.
To the game came a chance for the Ports. The ball put over by Roddy McDowell on the right, and Sandy Fraser, just 6 yards out, stabbed the ball wide. And then Portadown produced the best move of the first half. This was a neat build-up from the back, with Murray involved right from the start. The ball eventually comes in, Smith and Murray again, before the ball eventually blocked by Swift's new recruit from Crusaders, David Mallon. But Portadown's pressure was rewarded after 33 minutes. Trevor Smith found Martin Russell on the left, and when his cross came in, David Anderson failed to get his head to it, and Robert Casey picked his spot. A neat header and deserved goal. 1-0 at the break.
A hat-trick from Scotsman Sandy Fraser kept pace-setters Portadown at the helm, the transfer-listed striker making the most of a goalmouth melee to grab his first. And his second came seconds later. A poor defensive clearance, but an excellent through ball by Russell, and Fraser applied the finish. Gorman produced a cracking third before the break. Once again a haphazard clearance, and Stormin Gorman drilled it home. Listless Larne, further punished by the irrepressible Fraser in the second half, a super first-time volley sealed his hat-trick and a 4-0 win for the Ports.
After an early setback against Donegal Celtic when 16-year-old right-back Donald Gray was shown the red card and sent off for retaliation. However, even with 10 men, they soon took the lead when Martin Russell scored a fine goal from 15 yards, beating keeper Barry O'Neill at the near post.
Donald Gray sent off in their home game with Donegal Celtic, but the 10 men then scored 4 times without reply. Sandy Fraser's goal was his 100th.
Linfield have a game in hand, but the Ports are still ahead on points.
A good result for Linfield and Glenavon this one. Portadown did open well. Peter Murray did the donkey work, and his ball found a thoroughbred in Sandy Fraser, who scored a quality goal. But what did the Crews take at half-time? The unidentified magic potion certainly helped because they equalised within 17 seconds of the restart. Roddy Collins, the scorer. Topped off the tabletop with a clash despite taking an early lead against Newry. Sandy Fraser getting the final touch. But then Newry equalised. A fine ball found Ollie Ralph and he finished in the style to which he and we have become accustomed. The Port's usually incisive style was lacking and they just couldn't break Newry down despite several chances. A disappointing day ended with Sandy Fraser's dismissal for dissent as Portadown once again pressed the self-destruct button against supposedly inferior opposition.
Fourth of the season and his second at Omagh put the Ports 1-0 up. The other Mr. Major never gets receptions like this. Omagh, 3 times losers to Portadown, groaned, then cheered as John Quigg touched in this corner kick from Eamon Kavanagh. And Portadown looked anxious, but this one from Kavanagh was disallowed. Portadown looked for a match winner. Usually Sandy Fraser does the trick, but he was off today. Let me have a go, said Robert Casey. And he did. And he scored.
Obviously it's their biggest game of the season. Conditions were very difficult, as I said. But
begins at Seaview. Crusaders played most of the good football and took the lead through Sid Burrows, who was helped by Mickey Keenan's bad mistake. The Crews made it 2 in the 73rd minute. Burrows shot, Keenan's mistake, and Stephen Livingston scored. The Ports came back with a penalty 10 minutes from time. Russell brought down and Trevor Smith scored. But with seconds remaining, Crusaders scored a third through fullback. The table thanks to their win over Carrick, and the goalless draw between
Shamrock Park, Smith getting his first, courtesy of a penalty. Number 2 followed, Casey with the header, saved by Hillen, but Smith reacted first. Number 3, the ball driven in, superb control this and really an excellent finish. Into the second half, number 4, a deep cross but poor defence, and Trevor was there for the touch. Number 5 came from the direct route, a long ball out of defence, and Trevor Smith raced through to dispatch with authority. Some relief for Carrick after 65 minutes, Ian Coulter easing the ball past Mickey Keenan. But 6 of the best came after 70 minutes, Smith the provider and Paul Doonan. A great finish for an impressive Ports team.
We want to be sort of there and thereabouts come the last couple of matches, which are against Linfield and Glenavon. We've got to keep in touch and keep our noses in front until those games. And we'll
play Omagh at Linfield third, but the Blues lying patiently in wait for a slip-up. But all that will be immaterial if Portadown win their remaining games.
And do you know something? Portadown's thinking is so positive now that they really believe they can do just that. On Saturday they thrashed Carrick Rangers, and that bolstered confidence after a week or two of sluggish football.
We've still, 6 games to play, and we want to be sort of there and thereabouts come the last couple of matches, which are against Linfield and Glenavon. We've got to keep in touch and keep our noses in front until those games, and we're confident that we can go on and win it. I still think we have enough ability and enough strength and depth to go on and lift the...
But dropped 2 points at home to Cliftonville on Saturday. We start our roundup at Shamrock. Glentoran and Portadown produced a couple of cracking ties last season, and this was another outstanding duel. Glentoran scored first, Gary McCartney sent Neil Candlish clear, his cross was accurate, and Raymond Morrison outpaced the back-pedalling Ports defence. But before half-time, Portadown were in front. Their equaliser was a Tony Gorman special. A spectacular effort from about 30 yards. The second, only a couple of minutes later, wasn't quite as stylish, but the initial control. And then the shot by Trevor Smith was impressive. On loan from Dundee, Paul Ritchie followed up instinctively. Then the orchestrator of that move and last week's scorer of 5 at Carrick got his marching orders for retaliation after this foul by Raymond Morrison. Morrison got the yellow card and Smith the red, and he'll miss next week's game at Coleraine. But surprisingly, it was 10-man Portadown who scored again. Alan Patterson deflected Russell's corner onto the bar, and Major pounced as Bowers tried to clear.
Gorman to break down Colerane's defence on Saturday afternoon.
Gorman is making rasping long-range strikes a real speciality, and it was worth a crucial 3 points. You might just touch them as people's old club Portadown, who hammered Ballyclare 4-0, Paul Ritchie with the first. Ballyclare helped the Ports make it 2-0 with a couple of defensive horrors, and you just can't afford to lapse so appallingly against such class opposition. Davy Campbell took advantage. Tony Gorman began and finished a fine move to make it 3. Sandy Fraser worked the 1-2, and Gorman scored to follow up the Coleraine cracker. The Port's fourth was comical, or was it farcical? Maybe a combination of both. Davy Campbell's lob cross was treated like a pinless grenade by the goalkeeper. Two, that Portadown will play Coke tomorrow in the Mid-Ulster Cup, thus allowing Trevor Smith to complete his suspension.
Portadown, on the other hand, are chasing the double, and this will place some extra pressure on Ronnie McFall's men, here disposing of Omagh in the quarter-finals. But the squad has received some good news, with last night's game with Coke allowing striker Trevor Smith to return from...
Last night at Windsor Park, Bangor booked their place in the final again. The Seagulls were flying high against Portadown. Out of action since February with a knee injury. Portadown, well, they were at full strength with their striker Trevor Smith back in the side after a 2-game suspension. These were the main highlights.
Here's Gorman. He can hit them, but straight at Dalton. Tony Gorman, a man who's got 9 goals this season from midfield. Is he there? 25 yards, but no trouble for Dalton. Won by McGee. Canning moving forward. Oh yes, this is a good chance. McAvoy! It's 1-0. Ricky McAvoy, his 5th goal of the season. 12 minutes gone, it's 1-0 for Bangor. And Portadown caught wide open, square at the back. McAvoy, very cool with the finish. So the start the cup holders would have wanted. Off McCallan, McAvoy kept his head, and in she went. Hill gives it to Canning. Oh, McCallan, but he's surrounded by red shirts, needs support. Finds it from McAvoy. Oh, McCallan swings on it. It's 2-0. Minutes gone and Bangor are 2 up, and the man who hasn't played since February has done it. Goal number 27. Good ball from McAvoy. He scored the first, he set up the second, and McCallan, well, he finished it. Campbell did well to get it to Doolan. And O'Connor thought Doolan was slightly over the ball there, and I have to say I might agree with him. And O'Connor having a word with Doolan, but Portadown get the free kick. Brian Strain moving forward. All the big men up there. Russell takes it left-footed. Oh, he just couldn't get into the back, Brian Strain. Strain, who does well for a defender goal-wise. He's got 6 this season, 1 in the cup, almost number 2. Philip Major takes the long throw, plenty of red shirts forward. Strain is one of them. It's not away yet, here comes Gorman, but blocked by O'Connor. And I think that was Martin Russell who couldn't get the proper touch. Murray down the line, onto the left foot, Doolan's there. And that's a very poor finish from Paul Doolan. He's got 1 goal for the Port since he returned from Shamrock Rovers. Good ball in by Murray. Should have done better here. Clear header, but well off the mark. David Campbell. Smith just didn't get through to Russell. Doolan wins it. Russell lets it go. Oh, he hits it well. But Peter Murray hit it wide. And he'll know he should have done a lot better. Fairly good chance. The angle slightly against him, but that's a poor finish. Bangor have it. McAvoy, a bit of space. There's a good run from Glendinning. McGee in the middle, McCallan in the middle. It's taken a deflection, McGee! And he just couldn't keep it down. He's taken a knock in the process. But a good build-up again from Bangor. McGee arriving, clash of heads there and just over the top. Stewart losing out. Oh, he's hit it first time, just over the bar. Tremendous effort from McCallan. In fact, it's Ricky McAvoy just over the top. Major had the sharp. Oh, that's off hill. Fraser gets it back. Oh, he's hit it well. Good effort from Sandy Fraser. And the keeper, Dalton, had to be alert. The substitute almost in to pull one back for Portadown. Got it back here from Doolan. And Fraser on the fly. Dalton reacted very quickly. Oh, that's a good ball. Trevor Smith, he could be in here, Smith. He couldn't get it past Dalton, and that was a real chance. Smith, looking for his 34th goal of the season, tried to be clever, but Dalton was ready. Gorman. Oh, he tried to go right, the ball cut out. That's a good ball for John O'Connor getting in there. He's done well, but not well enough. John O'Connor, he hasn't scored this season. And he was almost in for number 3. Good strong run at this stage of the game and tantalisingly wide.
Well, after the 3 championship contenders.
Portadown and Ballymena produced only a few quality moments at the showgrounds. The first arrived 5 minutes before half-time. The ball fell at Martin Russell's feet and he had no second thoughts about where it was going. 1-0 to the Ports. The next noteworthy incident was a neat 1-2 between Barry McCready and Brian Strain. First the elbow, then the reverse kick and the powerful finish to the move by McCready. Both players were booked. And then came the 2 incidents that enraged Ports manager Ronnie McFall. This wasn't a free kick, according to Ronnie. But McFall may have a case about what resulted from the free kick. He claimed Mickey Keenan was sandwiched between McCready and Desi Lockery. Big Ronnie was not a happy man.
I think if the referee looks at the video on Monday night, he'll be embarrassed by his performance. I thought their goal, which was surely controversial in the first place, was a free kick for us. And the goalkeeper was fouled and bundled over the line when the ball crossed the line. It was a battling performance. The conditions was difficult, and I thought we coped very well. And I thought we deserved to win the game.
If Portadown, who are without captain Brian Strain due to a family bereavement, beat Linfield at Shamrock Park, then the Gibson Cup is theirs. But any other result keeps the championship alive. Stephen Watson examines the many permutations.
All 3 title hunters know exactly what they have to do tomorrow. Win. For Linfield and Portadown to do just that, one of them will have to relinquish a record. Linfield must try and break Portadown's amazing home run in the league odds in November 1992, because believe it or not, that's when Portadown last lost at Shamrock Park in the championship. A win tomorrow for the Blues, though, would put them in pole position. If they then win their remaining 2 games, they'd retain the title. Of course, Portadown can wrangle the cup from the shrine with victory tomorrow. They'll clearly remember how they spoiled Linfield's celebrations last year.
Peebles, and a good chance here. 3-0.
But Portadown must also break an impressive run. Linfield, you see, are now unbeaten in their last 27 games in all competitions. Well, all this, plus memories of the last league encounter, which ended in deadlock, has added to the pressure of tomorrow's showdown at Shamrock. So much so that Linfield's build-up has involved no interviews, although they'll do as many as you want after Saturday. Quite understandable, I suppose, as the nerves are also jangling in the superstitious Portadown camp. One player said the last time he did an interview, he was sent off. Another player lost after his TV discussion. That leaves Glenavon, who need to win tomorrow away to Cliftonville and hope Portadown lose or preferably draw. Provided all that happens, then the Gibson Cup could end up in Mornview, Shamrock or stay in Windsor Park. All Portadown have to do is beat Linfield and the Gibson Cup is theirs. It's certainly a mouth-watering contest at Shamrock Park, The Ports, remember, haven't lost there in the league since Ards beat them way back in November 1992. The Blues too are protecting an amazing record. They're unbeaten in their last 27 matches, helped by their goal-scoring supremo Gary Haylock. And the Blues will be out for revenge after the Ports, whose side included Linfield's Gary Peebles, ruined Trevor Anderson's celebrations at Windsor Park last year.
And a rather low-key encounter this so far, as Stewart plays it in towards Casey, who wins it well. Now Fraser! And he has popped a few of the party balloons here at Windsor Park. Cunningham on a run down the left-hand side, and a great run. He's beaten Dornan, and he's Fraser at the near post. And it's 2-0 to Portadown. Strains in the penalty area. Davidson has 3 choices here. Peebles, and a good chance here. 3-0. It's becoming a bit of a rout for Portadown.
Provided Linfield can earn a favourable result at Shamrock today, Glenavon can stay in the championship hunt with victory away to Cliftonville. Any other result though, and they'll have to wait until it looks set for postponement. The Irish League meet tonight but are unlikely to reschedule the fixture. Now the Blues, who have 3 games scheduled for this week, including the League Cup final tomorrow, will most likely appeal to the IFA, which should guarantee them a breather.
Well, if that happens, then Portadown and Glenavon could well refuse to play their crucial league fixture this Saturday on the grounds that the Blues would have an unfair advantage. Glenavon, meanwhile, were today kicked out of the Mid-Ulster Cup for good and fined £1,000 after not fulfilling their quarter-final match against Dungannon Swifts. But they're still in second place in the league table, 1 point ahead of Linfield. Portadown are top on point difference, but the Ports could have clinched the championship on Saturday with a win against the Blues. You'll know by now they blew their chance.
Portadown filed out confidently at Shamrock Park, unbeaten at home in the league for 33 games. But Linfield, who hadn't won a match at Shamrock in 5 seasons, were about to change all that, and the player who would orchestrate the downfall was Desi Gorman. Yes, the Dundalk Hawk was back after 5 matches, and the huge Linfield following didn't have to wait very long to watch Desi demoralise the opposition. 3 minutes to be precise. He outpaced Alfie Stewart and carefully lobbed an uncertain Ports keeper Mickey Keenan to make it 1-0. And Gorman glided to celebrate his 21st goal of the season. Stephen Beattie's vision to pick out Gorman was superb. Keenan will be disappointed that he hesitated, but the finish was coolly executed. Well, 5 minutes later, Portadown almost equalised, but Wes Lamont made an impressive reflex stop from Martin Russell's point-blank shot. Noel Bailey's free kick after 20 minutes set up Linfield's second. Gary Peebles headed the ball into Raymond Campbell's path. His shot was accurately deflected in by Gorman. And that drove the thousands of blue men at the other end absolutely wild. A second look reveals flaws in the Portadown defence. Campbell was unmarked. Gorman was given far too much room as he prowled in the box, but the striker's finish was instinctive. In the 33rd minute, Campbell stole the ball from Peter Murray and almost put Linfield 3 ahead. Mickey Keenan, though, made a fine save, just getting a foot to the shot. And Gary Haylock also had an opportunity to make it 3-1. His first-time effort sailed over the bar. Well, Linfield's dominance continued in the second half. Pat Fenlon's header here tipped over by Keenan. And from Fenlon's free kick a few minutes later, Haylock again came agonisingly close. His header rebounded off the bar, but watch Keenan just scrape the ball off the line and then gather. Portadown's Gorman, Tony, flashed a typical shot over the bar, but the Port's banner, Storm and Gorman, referred not to this man, but the Linfield version. At the final whistle, the Blues' excitement spilled onto the pitch. A good day's work for Lindsay McKeown and Trevor Anderson's team. Portadown simply outplayed.
I didn't get the grips with it at all, but that's the way it goes. Our boys know themselves sitting in there, they haven't produced the goods, and that's it. But I would feel myself that on a big game like this in particular, you cannot afford it.
Well, that's how the Linfield League story unfolded this week. Delight on Saturday as they defeated the Ports, but dejection last night as they slipped up to a resolute Newry team. The Blues' solitary first-half goal not enough as they dropped 2 precious points. The 1-1 result has blasted Portadown back as favourites for the championship, but the calculations as to how the league will be won are mind-boggling. Portadown's case, though, is simple. If they beat Glenavon, then the Gibson Cup is theirs, irrespective of what happens at Windsor Park. For the Blues to retain the trophy, they must hope for a draw at Mornview and beat Glentoran. But if Linfield draw or lose and Glenavon win, then that equals the championship for the Lurgan Blues. Then there's the permutations involving goal difference. If there's a draw at both venues, then Portadown will be champions due to their superior total. If Glenavon win by 1 clear goal and Linfield win by 2, then Alan Fraser's side will take the title. But if Glenavon win by 1 and Linfield can defeat the Glens by 3 clear goals, then the Gibson Cup will stay at the Shrine. Though that is a tall order for the Blues. The game will be their 4th in a week, including their League Cup success on Tuesday.
Fenlon, little ball in, and Peebles!
But tiredness is not the only reason why earning a favourable result will be tricky. You see, Glentoran have lost all their matches to Linfield this season, and helping stop their Belfast rivals retain the championship would cheer up their disheartened supporters. Glenavon will also find the going tough against Portadown. Recent history certainly goes against them. Glenavon haven't beaten Portadown in the league since 1991. On that day, Stephen McBride and Glenn Ferguson scored the goals, the 2 strikers who haven't been on target for Glenavon in the last 8 games. As for Portadown, they'll be hoping for a repeat of their Boxing Day victory.
Well, here's a good header for Sandy Fraser to make it 3-1. And he scores the clincher.
But where will the Gibson Cup end up? Tomorrow we'll find out which manager made the right prediction back in August.
I'm in the job just over a year and a half, and I said I would try and build a side to win the league championship, and I think this has to be our year.
I feel that the players that we've brought in this year will give us that competitive edge. Plus we've got a lot more pace and mobility up front.
Obviously we think we've got a stronger squad than last year, but only time alone will tell in that. We want to keep the league, and everybody at the club will be doing their best to do that.
So all 3 managers confident 8 months ago, but one thing is sure, whichever team celebrates tomorrow will certainly have to fight for the right.
You gotta fight for your right to party. You gotta fight for your right to party.
So it's Rick you really want to date?
Yes, but how can I?
Well, don't worry about it. Leave it to me.
Only half of the story, though, would happen in Lurgan. The other half would unfold at Windsor Park in Belfast, where Linfield's Alan Dornan led out his troops against Glentoran, but the Blues supporters wouldn't be cheering first.
Glorious sunshine now at Mornview as Russell floats it in. Now goes Strain and Casey. I don't know why Casey tried to get down to head that, but here's Kennedy. Plays it through and onside. Here come Glenavon, Peter Kennedy. Plays it to McCoy, who scores for Glenavon. Well, what a start to this match.
Linfield were making a reasonable opening to their encounter, producing all the opportunities but able to provide that elusive final touch. Gary Peebles and Stephen Beattie came close in the opening half hour. Portadown were in search of an equaliser back at Mornview before half-time.
Oh, here's Fraser. Now McBride again, forward for Kennedy, and here's Byrne for 2-0. Good save by Mickey Keenan. Now Smith, that's good football, and here's McBride, and a good ball for McCoy. And running into the box is Byrne, and it's Byrne! Oh, what a save by Mickey Keenan. And here's McBride, he's beaten the offside trap, and he scored a second. Stephen McBride has scored an absolutely crucial goal for Glenavon.
In Belfast it was still 0 each and tempers were flaring 20 minutes into the second half.
Alfie Stewart losing out to Glenn Ferguson. And now McBride, who's through to make it 3-0, and this would seal it. Oh, he's missed an amazing opportunity.
And little did he know at Windsor Park, Linfield were about to take their opportunity and re-enter the championship hunt. Pat Fenlon capitalised on an Alan Patterson mistake to put the Blues 1-0 ahead. And only a few minutes later, he set up Desi Gorman for the second. And almost simultaneously, Portadown unwittingly gave the Blues another lift.
In for Gorman, away on the left-hand side is Trevor Smith. And here he is, and Portadown getting a bit of room here on this left side. Cover now from Byrne. Here's Murray, and now here's Smith. Fraser! And it's 2-1. And suddenly, it's a different game.
And also a different game at Windsor Park, where Glentoran were reduced to 10 men. Neil Candlish sent off for back chat to the referee.
Oh, Sandy Fraser turns well. Fraser in for Smith. Now Doolan. What a frantic finish this is. Gorman plays it in. Up goes Casey. And a goal from Fraser. It's 2-each.
And that news filtered through to Windsor. Manager Trevor Anderson knew if the score stayed the same, the championship was his.
Now Paul Byrne, the captain. Can he score a winner and win the league title for Glenavon? Fian! Offside!
At Windsor it was game, set and match to Linfield, but there was still 6 minutes left at Mornview.
Russell. Oh, here's Casey, and he's onside to win the league for Portadown. Oh! He's missed it!
2-2 had finished at Mornview. The Blues waited for confirmation of that score.